It's a snowy Monday afternoon here in Korea. Welcome to Arirang News, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Na Hyun-kyung. The stories we are following at this hour. Korea's main rival parties have until Tuesday to finalize discussions on next year's budget bill. If an agreement is not reached, a bill that was submitted automatically today will be put to a vote tomorrow. A market directly trading the Korean won and Chinese yuan opens its door for the first time. It's expected to cut transaction costs for exchanging the two currencies. And Pope Francis, on his way back from a 3-day visit to Turkey, says peaceful Muslims should not be stigmatized by Islamic State militants and calls on Muslim leaders to condemn terrorism. Well, lawmakers here in Korea have given themselves extra time to finish reviewing next year's budget. If the bill is passed by the legal deadline of December 2nd this year, it will be the first time in more than a decade that the parliament has passed a budget bill within the legal deadline. Arirang's National Assembly correspondent Kim Young-gil has the details.
Korea's two main rival parties will spend Monday reviewing the 2015 budget, having given themselves 2 extra days to do so, with hopes of finalizing the process before the bipartisan bill is put to a vote at Tuesday's plenary session.
We decided to extend the budget review deadline in hopes of passing the budget bill tomorrow. We are also looking into passing auxiliary budget bills by Tuesday's legal deadline.
If the parties manage to achieve that goal, it will mark the first time in 12 years that the parliament will have passed the budget by the legal deadline. Under a new law, if the two rival parties fail to reach a bipartisan agreement by the end of Tuesday, the government's original version of the bill will be passed automatically. The opposition party boycotted parliament last week over 2 plans put forth by the central government, one regarding cost sharing for a free childcare program and another for a proposed cigarette price increase. The opposition has also demanded scale backs in corporate tax reductions.
We are not 100% satisfied, but our party is doing its best to secure budgets that will improve the livelihoods of the people and make Korea a safer place to live.
While the two sides have set aside their major points of contention, they still need to reach agreement on the government's economic revitalization plan and welfare bills. The parties are also in a dispute over tax-related bills that are attached to the budget, which will be put to a vote on Tuesday with or without bipartisan agreement. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
Korea has taken a large step toward building a trading hub in Seoul for the Chinese currency. The new market for direct trading of the won and the yuan opened earlier this morning, reducing exchange costs and the Korean currency's dependency on the US dollar. Kim Min-ji reports.
It's a big day for the Chinese yuan in Korea. A direct trading market for the Korean won and the Chinese yuan opened Monday morning. The market, which opens at 9 a.m. and closes at 3 p.m. every weekday, is expected to drastically cut transaction costs for exchanging the two currencies. Until now, local banks would have to convert their Korean won into US dollars at home and exchange them into the yuan in Hong Kong. 12 banks, which include 7 local and 5 foreign bank branches in Korea, will participate as market makers that propose selling and buying prices, which is aimed at pumping liquidity into the market. Korean government officials expect the market to boost efforts for developing a hub for offshore yuan transactions. Speaking at a ceremony marking the launch of the market, Korean Finance Minister Choi Kyung-hwan said that Korea will foster the market into what he called a competitive and global hidden champion. Choi added that to promote won-yuan trading, the government will build an electronic trading system up to the standards of the $1 trading market. In July, President Park Geun-hye and her Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping agreed to open the won-yuan market this month. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Well, the details on Samsung Group's annual reshuffle of positions are out. No drastic shifts were made this year, and no one from the controlling E family has received a promotion. Analysts say the group is focused on keeping management operations steady, as Chairman Lee Gun-hee is still in the hospital after suffering a heart attack in May. In his first reshuffle after the chairman's absence, Samsung Group heir apparent Lee Jae-yong kept the three CEOs at Samsung Electronics as is, but did send a warning sign to the slumping handset sector, removing three presidents of the IT and mobile division from their posts. Samsung Electronics saw some of its worst performance numbers last quarter, with profits hitting a three-year low and sales falling below $50 billion for the first time in 2 years. Korea's real wage growth has dropped for 6 consecutive quarters, posting near 0% growth. The Bank of Korea and the Labor Ministry said Monday that the real wage amounted to an average of just over $2,600 in the third quarter of this year, up merely 0.8% from the same period last year. This is the weakest figure since the fourth quarter of 2011, when a negative 2.4% growth was recorded. The real wage growth is calculated by deducting price inflation from the nominal wage and reflects workers' purchasing power. Experts attributed the near 0% growth to companies hiring more temporary workers who receive lower income than regular workers. Solar power is one of the fastest growing sectors in the renewable energy market worldwide, as it is viewed as a feasible alternative to fossil fuels. Korean firms in the industry have room to grow, but there are challenges ahead as always. Our Song Ji-sun takes a look at some of those challenges on this week's Industry Insight.
This is the biggest solar power plant in the capital that started operating this summer. It's equivalent to 13 football fields with a capacity of 5.6 megawatts, enough for 2,200 households a year.
This solar panel system has been set up on the roof of this water filtering plant, and we have completed a couple of other solar power facilities like this for the Seoul Metropolitan Government. It's fully operational even on cloudy days and only takes 3 months to install and operate.
The market for these solar facilities is booming in Korea, accounting for 98% of all renewable power plants built in the first half this year. Over the past decade, solar energy has emerged as the world's biggest source of renewable energy, overtaking wind power. Last year alone, it created half of total electricity generated from renewable energy sources. The solar energy market is forecast to expand by 10% each year by 2030, with China and India likely accounting for half of the global demand. By then, the cost of generating electricity from solar power is expected to reach similar levels to burning fossil fuel, meaning it could become more widespread without the support of government subsidies, as it mostly depends on that at the moment. The biggest competition in the industry comes from China, which produces 80% of the global demand at prices 20 to 30% cheaper than Korea.
Backed by government support, Chinese companies have been producing well over the market demand, with half of the world's top 10 solar panel producers based in China. It's not easy to counter them in terms of price, so Korean firms must improve their cost efficiency, at the same time revving up quality and technology.
Around 40 players are in Korea's solar power generating market, with small and mid-sized companies focusing on solar cells or modules, while large conglomerates aim to tackle the global market by equipping a complete chain of production and after-sales service.
We've established a value chain from solar component production to system maintenance, and we aim to expand the solar power generation infrastructure to even include households.
Industry experts point out that it's crucial that the government takes steps to speed up the growth of domestic solar power market. To expand the economy of scale and improve profitability, the government must ease regulations concerning installation. They also point out the government must provide financial aid to companies seeking projects overseas to help them win more share of the world's non-fossil fuel energy market. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
celebrated in the year 2012 for Korea was at its record high.
All of the day's important events close to home and around the world. Join Na Hyun-kyung live from Seoul.
Shopping market thinks the true meaning of creation shines through. President Park Geun-hye has ordered an investigation to find out who's responsible for leaking information about one of her former aides. Now, the whole situation is being coined the Chung Yun-hwa Gate here in Korea after a recent media report claimed that the president's former aide Chung had been meeting with presidential secretaries on a regular basis and was plotting to oust the current presidential chief of staff. At a meeting with her senior secretaries on Monday, President Park took the case head-on and denied the claims. She said her office frequently receives information that is based on rumor or speculation, and that the prosecution should look into the case to find out who leaked the information and for what purpose, and to seriously punish those who found responsible. Former First Lady Lee Hee-ho has postponed her scheduled visit to North Korea to at least next spring. Lee's representative said doctors advised the 93-year-old widow of late President Kim Dae-jung to delay her trip due to health concerns. This comes after both Koreas approved the visit, but before an agreement on the exact timing was made. Some speculate, however, that her trip has been delayed because the two Koreas couldn't narrow differences about the trip. Now, meeting with President Park Geun-hye in October, the former First Lady expressed her wish to visit Pyongyang as for the reasons she wanted to donate hand-knitted hats to North Korean children. Now, today, the United States has more than 28,000 troops stationed here in South Korea, but according to recently released documents, there might not have been any today if a former U.S. president had his way. Connie Kim has this report.
In January 1977, soon after U.S. President Jimmy Carter is inaugurated, he orders a review on the removal of all U.S. troops from South Korea. Top government officials strongly oppose the idea, but Carter stands firm, working on reports that the two Koreas had balanced military power, thereby making it harder for them to go to war. 2 years later, Carter backtracks, citing a buildup in North Korea's military strength. Now we have a better idea of what changed then-President Carter's mind thanks to a recently declassified CIA document. Carter knew at the time of his announcement that North Korea had 80% more tanks in its arsenal than previously reported, and had deployed some 270 tanks and 100 armored personnel vehicles within 100 kilometers of the demilitarized zone. He would later learn that Pyongyang had 3 additional army divisions and an extra brigade, but that was just the tip of the iceberg. The nonprofit National Security Archive would later discover that Pyongyang had 650,000 ground troops and 41 ground forces division, much higher than the 450,000 troops and 28 divisions previously reported. In January 1979, the National Security Archive's report was leaked, leaving then-President Carter no choice but to abandon his review and plans to pull U.S. troops from the peninsula. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Pope Francis makes pleas for religious tolerance and an end to violence in the region near Turkey. His remarks follow a 3-day visit to the country where he held a joint service with the leader of the Eastern Orthodox Church for the first time in more than 1,000 years. Park Ji-won tells us more.
Wrapping up a 3-day visit to Turkey, Pope Francis told reporters on the plane ride home that terrorist acts shouldn't stigmatize the mostly peaceful Muslim population and that equating Islam to terrorism was wrong.
Many Islamic people are offended. Many say, no, we are not this. The Quran is a book of peace. It is a prophetic book of peace. Terrorism is not Islam.
However, Pope Francis had strong words for those who are carrying out heinous acts in the name of Islam. It's a message that is especially relevant in Turkey, a country that harbors nearly 2 million refugees from Syria, some of whom have fled as the Islamic State has expanded its reign of terror.
Taking away the peace of a people, committing every act of violence, or consenting to such acts, especially when directed against the weakest and defenseless, is a profoundly grave sin against God, since it means showing contempt for the image of God, which is in man.
The comment came amid a joint service held with Patriarch Bartholomew, the head of the Eastern Orthodox Church, which split from the Roman Catholic Church more than 1,000 years ago. Both leaders issued a joint declaration in Istanbul, calling on Muslims and Christians to work together for peaceful coexistence. Pope Francis also prayed with a senior Islamic cleric in Istanbul's signature Blue Mosque, which dates back to the early 15th century. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
And in other news, today, December 1st, marks World AIDS Day, a day aimed at raising awareness about the fight against HIV. Statistics show that nearly 10,000 HIV-positive individuals live in Korea. Now, that's only the officially recorded figure. Local activists say Korea could do so much more to remove the stigma. Connie Lee has this report.
The number of people with AIDS is increasing here in Korea. In 2006, 749 new cases were reported. However, in 2013, more than 1,000 new cases of HIV and AIDS have emerged, making the total number of patients currently with the virus at over 8,600. The report, released by the Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, shows that 92% of the patients are male, with most of those infected in their 20s and 30s. HIV, which stands for Human Immunodeficiency Virus, attacks the body's immune system, and the later symptoms of HIV infection are referred to as AIDS, a debilitating disease that requires more attention here in the nation. In light of World AIDS Day on December 1st, activists took to the streets of Seoul on Sunday, urging the government for more support.
I hope the government will take the lead towards changing social perception on HIV and AIDS.
Activists say HIV patients are discriminated against and receive inadequate health care. They say there are no facilities that care for patients long-term.
Most HIV patients who are in need of long-term medical care look after their own health at home with special medical equipment. Or some get treated by going from one hospital to the next.
However, there are small steps being taken by the government in the fight against the disease. Public health centers in Seoul offer free HIV testing. However, the results are not available until about a week after. Now Seoul is hoping to speed up the process.
Starting next year, we will offer rapid HIV testing. Results will be provided in 20 minutes, using just one drop of blood. This service will help in early detection and help the spread of HIV.
And once the patients are confirmed as HIV positive, the Seoul city government plans to offer them basic medical subsidies. Connie Lee, Arirang News.
The big top has been raised in Seoul, meaning the circus is in town, but this is not your ordinary circus performance. Our Im Yoon-hee joins us this afternoon with the show Cavalia.
That's right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Yoon-hee.
I don't think circus is quite the right word to describe this particular performance. Now, Cavalia has finally set down in Seoul, and it's a unique performance that involves the equestrian, acrobatics, as well as multimedia. And so the brains behind this, Norman Latourelle, he's actually also behind the very famous Cirque du Soleil. But Cavalia is different in that it really highlights this beautiful relationship between man and horse. Now, I took a look at behind the scenes of this special show. Take a look.
The strong, muscular body of the horse has stood next to man throughout time, its beauty appreciated around the world. There's always been a unique relationship between man and horse, and now a new kind of show takes it to a new level. Cavalia has traveled the world, celebrating both man and horse, the show featuring breathtaking acrobatics with performers who seem to defy gravity. The cast of Cavalia is made up of members from around the world, each contributing their unique talents and passions. From the ground to the air, these performers make the task look easy, but don't be fooled. These are some of the best in the field, each with years of experience under their belts. And of course, the entire show is weaved together by the stars of the show, all 50 beautiful horses who, like the cast, also come from places around the world.
Of course, we have our 50 beautiful, magnificent stars as you see us here behind us. They are the priority here at Cavalia. They're outside right now enjoying the fresh air. They go outside every day. We also have a massage therapist on site. They're fed 6 times a day. We have over 20 people full-time watching after the care of our 4-legged stars.
And each horse is truly given the 5-star treatment. The massage therapist goes through each horse, making sure they're physically relaxed and ready for the show. And of course, after a hard day's work, a daily rinse down is needed. But when you think of a horse, you can't forget its trademark tail and mane. And here, the salon treatment goes from head to hoof.
As you can see, Renato has a lot of hair. It's absolutely everywhere. So we like to keep it contained and keep it clean, and we do this by braiding the hair. Now, an interesting fact about horses is they do not have any feeling in their manes or tails. So when we pull in our hair, we can feel it. You can pull his hair and you cannot feel it.
However, when it comes to showtime, of course everyone's got to let loose a little, and the natural beauty of the horse is ready for the spotlight.
We like to show the horses in their most beautiful and most natural state, and so long manes and tails, just like they'd be in the wild, is the way we like to see it.
Sometimes called an equestrian ballet, Cavalia takes a unique approach to performance, and that's what's carried it, and the hundreds of people behind the show, across continents and seas, so everyone can get a chance to step into the mesmerizing and magical world of Cavalia.
So the horses are receiving top-notch services there. And where are these horses coming from exactly?
So these horses are from all over the world. Some are from France, Spain, Canada. They're really from all over the world. But these horses, you can see they're much more trained than your average horse. And so they said when they choose a horse, it really depends on its relationship, its ability to adjust to the stage, to the lights, to special effects, and its ability to work with horses and the trainer. So the chemistry is a big factor when choosing the horse. So they actually say they do recruit a lot of horses and are unable to perform the horses because the chemistry doesn't match up in the end. But you saw in the report, the Renato, he's actually the Comtois horse, and a Comtois horse is really rare. He's actually one of only 600 left in the world. Wow. And so it's a beautiful spectacle of all different horses, and you could really see the differences in breeds when you go to the show.
So it's going to be a good chance to take a look at Comtois horse,
right,
although I have no idea what that means right now. But let's move on to why they're mixing acrobatics with equestrian.
Right, so that was really interesting. I was talking to the choreographer, and he's been there since the beginning of the show. And he said when bringing in these dancers, they're actually from Guinea, you saw in the report, he said they add a sense of texture to the whole performance, and it kind of brings the whole performance to the earth. And so they want this natural, you heard earlier, she said that she wants a natural beauty to show from the horses as well as from the entire performances. And so when they do choose the performances, they mix this acrobatics with the horses to create this beautiful natural spectacle. But it was very rhythmic, and you know, these people who are part of the performance, they've actually been training in schools at a very young age, and so they're the best of the best, you know, professionals, an absolute spectacle to see.
I know on a personal level, you were very excited to cover this story, I can see that you were very passionate about this report.
I was very impressed.
All right, thank you very much, Uni, for today's story.
It's always a pleasure.
We're now in December. I'm Michelle Park here with the latest weather forecast. It's very, very cold outside, but our highs will remain above the freezing point today. Now, currently, there are strong winds and wave warnings and advisories in effect over in the coastal areas and Chungcheongbuk-do and Gyeongsang-buk-do provinces. Now, it's also a snowy day. Most regions can expect less than 1 centimeters, and in the areas of Jeollado and Gyeongsang-namdo, and they can expect up to 10 centimeters. Now to our readings for today. Seoul will peak at 1 degree this afternoon. Meanwhile, the southern cities such as Gwangju and Busan will top to 6 and 10 degrees. Now moving over to other regions, Jejuan top to 10 while Dokdo hits 9, while Langkeung be a bit colder at -9. Well, that's all for now. Michelle Park, and have a wonderful day.
Well, that's a wrap from us at this hour. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with more updates at 4 p.m. Korea time. Bye-bye for now.